Electricity, you use it every single day. You flip switches, charge phones, plug in laptops. You've lived your entire life surrounded by it. So let me ask you something. What is it? What is electricity actually? Don't tell me it's electrons flowing through a wire. Don't tell me it's like water through a pipe, because if that's your answer, and it probably is because that's what you were taught, then everything you think you know about electricity is wrong. And I don't mean a little wrong. I mean fundamentally, structurally, embarrassingly wrong. And by the end of this, you're going to realize that the misconception about electricity leads to a far more disturbing truth about your own body and every physical sensation you've ever had. Take your phone charger. Go ahead. Look at the cable. That white cord running from the wall to your phone. You felt it get warm while it's charging. You assumed the warmth meant energy was flowing through the wire, like hot water through a pipe heating the walls as it passes. That seems reasonable, intuitive, and completely incorrect. But before I explain why, I need to show you something about the things supposedly flowing through that wire. Because when you see what electrons actually do inside a copper wire, the whole pipe metaphor falls apart. So let's start with the basics. What did school teach you? Electrons flow through a wire like water through a pipe. The power plant pushes them in at one end, they race through the metal and come out the other end into your device. Simple, clean, makes perfect sense, and it's the reason you've never questioned it. Why would you? It explains everything you see. Flip a switch, electrons flow, light turns on, except it doesn't actually explain what you see, not even close. And here's the first crack in the foundation. When you flip a light switch and the light turns on instantly, so even though the wire runs dozens of meters from the switch to the bulb, the electrons didn't race from the switch to the bulb. They couldn't have. Electrons in a typical household wire move at roughly 0.1 millimeters per second. That's not a typo. 0.1 millimeters per second. To put that in perspective, a snail moves at about 1 millimeter per second. Electrons in your wall are 10 times slower than a snail. At that speed, a single electron would take more than 3 hours to travel 1 meter of wire. 3 hours. But your light turns on in a fraction of a second. So here's the question you should be asking. If the electrons didn't travel from the switch to the bulb, what did? What actually carried the energy? What turned on your light? This is where it starts to get strange, and it's where one of the most brilliant physicists of the 19th century comes in. In the 1860s, a Scottish physicist named James Clerk Maxwell sat down and did something extraordinary. He took everything that was known about electricity and magnetism, the experiments of Faraday, the observations of Ampere, the mathematics of Gauss, and he unified them into 4 elegant equations. 4 equations that describe the complete behavior of electromagnetic fields. And buried inside those equations was a prediction that stunned even Maxwell himself. The equations showed that oscillating electric and magnetic fields could propagate through empty space, through the vacuum, as a self-sustaining wave. And when Maxwell calculated the speed of that wave, it came out to be exactly the speed of light. He had just proven that light itself is an electromagnetic wave. But more importantly for our story, he had proven something else. Electromagnetic energy doesn't need a wire to travel. It moves through space, through the field, through nothing. And this is exactly what happens in your house. The energy that powers your light bulb doesn't travel through the wire. It travels around the wire, through the empty space surrounding it. When a current is established in a circuit, it creates an electromagnetic field, the field that extends outward from the wire into the space around it. And it is this field, not the electrons, that carries the energy. The wire doesn't transport energy like a pipe transports water. The wire guides the electromagnetic field like a railroad track guides a train. But the train is not inside the track. The energy is not inside the wire. It's in the space around it, moving at nearly the speed of light. There's even a mathematical tool that proves this. It's called the Poynting vector. It calculates exactly where energy flows in an electromagnetic system. And when you apply it to a simple circuit, a battery and a wire, the Poynting vector shows energy flowing through the space outside the wire, perpendicular to the wire's surface, converging on the device that's consuming it, not through the copper, through the void around it. Does that bother you? It should, because you've been told your entire life that wires carry electricity, that the copper is the important part, that the energy flows through the metal, that if you cut the wire, you break the circuit and the electricity stops, like cutting a garden hose stops the water. But the truth is almost the opposite. The copper is a guide, a boundary condition, a shape that tells the field where to go. The real action is happening in the invisible field surrounding it, in the space you thought was empty. And you can prove this to yourself without any lab equipment. Wireless charging exists. Transformers work by transferring energy between two coils that never touch. No physical connection, just two loops of wire near each other, and energy leaps from one to the other through the field. Radio transmits energy through empty space with no wire at all. Your microwave heats food by flooding it with electromagnetic waves that never travel through any conductor. Every one of these technologies works precisely because energy doesn't need to be inside a wire. It never was. But wait, if electrons aren't delivering the energy, what are they actually doing in there? Why do we even need the wire? Think about a stadium full of people doing the wave. When the wave ripples around the stadium, it moves fast, maybe 40 kilometers per hour. But no individual person is traveling around the stadium. Each person just stands up and sits down in place. The wave moves, the people don't. Electrons in a wire are doing exactly this. They oscillate back and forth in place, vibrating by fractions of a millimeter, while the electromagnetic wave races through the field at nearly the speed of light. The wave arrives at the light bulb almost instantly. The electrons that caused it barely moved at all. They will never arrive at the bulb. They don't need to. They were never carrying the energy in the first place. And here's something that should bother you even more. The electricity in your home is alternating current, AC, which means the electrons aren't even drifting in one direction. They're oscillating back and forth 60 times per second in the United States, 50 in most of Europe, back and forth, 60 times a second, going nowhere, literally vibrating in place while the electromagnetic field surrounding them carries gigawatts of energy across entire continents. The entire electrical grid, the power plants, the transmission lines, the substations, all of it is designed to shape and direct electromagnetic fields through space. The wires are the rails, the field is the train, and the electrons are just shaking in place, going absolutely nowhere. Let me say this very clearly because I need it to land. The thing you call electricity, the energy that lights your home, charges your phone, powers everything in modern civilization, does not flow through wires. It flows through the electromagnetic field that exists in the empty space around the wires. The wire is a guide. The field is the carrier. And the electrons are just oscillating in place like a crowd doing the wave. You've been thinking about this backward your entire life. Now, if you're already reconsidering what electricity is, hold on. Because this misconception is the doorway to something much bigger and much more personal. If this channel makes you question things nobody else makes you question, subscribe. Because what's coming next changes how you see your own body. So electricity is really about electromagnetic fields, forces acting through empty space, fields pushing, pulling, repelling, attracting, without anything physically touching. Keep that idea in your mind, because I'm about to connect it to something you won't expect. Pick up any object near you, your phone, a pen, a cup. Feel it in your hand. Feel its weight, its texture, the solidity of it pressing against your skin. You are absolutely certain you're touching it. You can feel it. It's right there, solid and real, pressing against your fingers. But you're not touching it. You have never touched it. You have never touched anything in your entire life. If your brain is resisting that, good. It should. But here's the physics. Atoms are almost entirely empty space. If an atom were the size of a football stadium, the nucleus would be a marble at the center, and the electrons would be specks of dust somewhere out near the parking lot. Everything in between is nothing, empty vacuum. To give you a sense of scale, if you removed all the empty space from every atom and every human being on Earth, all 8 billion of us, the remaining matter would fit inside a single sugar cube. That's how empty you are. That's how empty everything is. And when two atoms get close to each other, when your finger pushes against a table, for instance, the electron clouds of those atoms interact. They don't collide. They don't merge. They repel each other. Electromagnetic repulsion, the same electromagnetic force we've been talking about this entire time. The same force that carries energy through the space around wires. That force pushes back against your finger, and your brain interprets that repulsion as the sensation of touch. But the atoms never made contact. There is always a gap, an infinitesimally small gap of empty space where electromagnetic fields are screaming at each other, and your nervous system translates that scream into the feeling of something solid. What you call touching is just the word your brain invented for what electromagnetic repulsion feels like. Let me reformulate that, because I don't think the full weight of it has landed yet. Every handshake you've ever had, electromagnetic repulsion across a gap that never closed. Every hug, every time you held someone's hand, every time a parent picked up a child, every kiss, none of it was contact. All of it was electromagnetic fields interacting through empty space. The warmth you feel when you hold a cup of coffee is infrared radiation crossing the void between atoms that cannot touch. The feeling of your feet on the floor right now is not your feet pressing against the floor. It's the electron clouds of your feet being repelled by the electron clouds of the floor. And the space between them never closes to zero. You have never touched anything, and nothing has ever touched you. You have never touched anything in your entire life. That might be the most important sentence in this entire video. And here's where it comes full circle. The electromagnetic force, and the thing you thought was just about wires and batteries and charging cables, is the same force that creates every physical sensation you've ever experienced. Touch, texture, pressure, resistance, solidity, all of it is electromagnetism. The same phenomenon that carries energy through the empty space around wires is the phenomenon that makes you believe the world is solid. You started this video thinking you didn't understand electricity. The truth is, you didn't understand your own body. You didn't understand what it means to touch something. You didn't understand what solidity is. And the answer to all of these things is the same. Electromagnetic fields acting through empty space without contact, without touching, without anything ever making physical connection. And we can prove every bit of this is real. The scanning tunneling microscope, a technology that won the 1986 Nobel Prize in Physics, works by exploiting this exact gap between atoms. The probe never touches the surface it's imaging. It hovers above it, reading the electromagnetic interaction across the void, measuring the quantum tunneling current that flows through the empty space between atoms. This instrument produces images of individual atoms with stunning clarity, and it does so without ever making contact with them, because contact at the atomic level doesn't exist. The Nobel Committee didn't award the prize for a theory. They awarded it for a machine that works because atoms can't touch. And it goes further. This is the reason chemistry exists. Every chemical bond, every molecule in your body, every strand of DNA, every protein folding into shape is held together by electromagnetic interactions between atoms that never touch. The oxygen you're breathing right now is two atoms held in proximity by shared electromagnetic fields. The water you drank this morning is three atoms arranged by electromagnetic repulsion and attraction, hovering near each other in a precise geometric pattern, never once making contact. Your entire body, every cell, every nerve, every thought you've ever had, is an architecture of electromagnetic forces operating across tiny voids. You are not made of stuff, you are made of forces. There's an even deeper layer to this, something called quantum electrodynamics, or QED, which Feynman himself helped develop and which won him the Nobel Prize in 1965. It explains not just how electromagnetic fields behave, but why they behave that way, and what photons, the particles of light and electromagnetic force, really are at the deepest level. That's a story for another day. And trust me, that story makes this one look simple. But right now, I want you to sit with what you've just learned. Think about that charger cable, the one plugged into the wall, getting warm in your hand. The energy powering your phone isn't flowing through that cable. It's flowing through the space around it, carried by an electromagnetic field. And that same electromagnetic field and that same fundamental force is the reason you can feel the cable at all. The warmth in your fingers, the texture of the plastic, the pressure of the cable against your palm, all of it is electromagnetic repulsion. All of it is the same force. The force in the wire and the force in your fingertips are not two different things. They are one thing, experienced at two different scales. And neither one involves anything actually touching anything else. This is just the beginning. In another video, I go deeper into what happens when you look at electricity at the quantum level, where energy doesn't flow smoothly but arrives in tiny discrete packets called photons, and where the line between particle and wave dissolves completely. What I found there is even more unsettling than what I've told you today. If you want to keep going, it's right here. But here's what I want you to carry with you. Next time you plug in your phone and feel the cable get warm, remember, the energy isn't in the wire. It never was. It's in the invisible field surrounding it, racing through empty space at nearly the speed of light. And the warmth you feel in your fingers as you hold that cable isn't contact. It never was. Your skin and the plastic are not touching. They are electromagnetic fields locked in a standoff across a gap that will never close. And your brain is translating that standoff into the sensation of warmth and pressure and texture. Every physical experience you've ever had, every surface you've walked on, every hand you've held, every object you've picked up, every time you thought you were touching the world, you were feeling electromagnetic fields interact across empty space. And you never knew it, because the story your senses tell you is the most convincing illusion the universe has ever produced. Look around you right now, the chair beneath you, the floor under your feet, the screen in front of your face. None of it is touching you, and you are not touching it. You are suspended in a web of electromagnetic forces, floating in gaps too small to see, feeling a world that isn't solid, held together by the same force that lights your home and charges your phone. One force, one phenomenon. experienced at every scale of your existence. You are not solid. You are not touching the ground beneath you. You are not holding your phone. You are a storm of forces pretending to be still.